Hello, everyone, and welcome back to This Week in Guns, brought to you by Patriot Patch Company, VZGrips, MAF Corporation, for Patriots Foods, and Primary Arms. The show offers commentary on the latest firearms industry news, information, and buzz. I'm your host, Matthew LaRosiere, and I'm joined again by Mr. Ivan. And what do you got there, buddy?
Hi, it's me. I'm aboard the UNSC Pillar of Autumn, and I have this newfangled space gun, which might look like an abortive 1911 knockoff, but I promise you, it's really good. See, I'm using it in the World War III's against the Covenant.
Now, sorry, I've been trying to some more drink from Fisher Scientific, but I can see that Governor Newsom has been drinking his Fisher Scientific.
Oh gosh!
Because he has put forth a big ol' doing. So before we talk about what Newsom has done, let's talk about what's been going on in the courts in California.
So there was two cases in California that are sort of high profile. I think they were both GVR'd at the time of Bruin. One was California's salty weapons, and then this one was California's mag ban. And they were both back before Benitez of great gun YouTube law, YouTube circle jerk.
Right.
And this opinion came down. I read through most of the whole thing. I read 50% of it, so I'm like 95% more educated than most of gun law YouTube. But it was a masterfully done written opinion. Benitez wasn't taking a long time on this because he was just like, yeah, whatever, dude, it's not important. He was writing an opinion that, if you ask me, is specifically set up to just be full of landmines for the Ninth Circuit. Because he knows where it's going, straight to the Ninth Circuit. And he did put a 10-day stay on it. And I saw a lot of people not understanding why 10 days. And I guess I should mention his conclusion was categorically California's 10-round magazine ban is violative of the Second Amendment. And then I think the funniest tidbit in the whole thing to me was California's best analogous law that they put forward was a law that actually required that you have more than 10 rounds of ammunition on your person showing up for militia service. Benitez was like, hey, dummies. You said that they
y'all cited this.
Are you sure that's what you wanted? Okay.
Well, no, we mean because it's they were there to check and regulate it and make.
Yeah, they were regulating. Yeah, but Benitez has summarily destroyed the sorts of arguments that judges have like invented, sort of, because interest balancing was invented in response to Heller. The invention in response to Bruin is, nothing is an arm. Nothing's an arm. Anything they want to ban isn't an arm, actually. Guns aren't arms, magazines aren't arms, bullets aren't arms, body armor is not arms, nothing's an arm. Nothing is. Hunting rifle, that's an arm for hunting. Hunting arm. Arms themselves aren't arms, by the way. But that's sort of what judges have been inventing. And much of Benitez's opinion here was sort of trying to preempt that, and if not preempt it, make it so their argument is really bad if they try to go against you, because then on appeal to the Supreme Court, it lets them devastate it. So it was well done, I think. Congratulations to a Benitez and a 10-day stay.
Right, 10-day stay, which has already been extended.
Right, and so the gist behind the 10-day stay is because the current status quo is the mags are banned, it's sort of proper or whatever to give you a 10-day stay, so that way if the government's going to appeal, they have the time to appeal, and you don't have state police departments briefing themselves back and forth like, yes legal, no legal, yes no legal, back and forth. So they're trying to be efficient. It's not him trying to play nice with the anti-gunners. It's just sort of standard.
It's because you're supposed, these things are usually designed to restore the status quo, and what we have here is not having a 10-round mag ban, everything over 10 rounds, is the status quo ante, the status quo before the conduct in question, right? The conduct that's the subject of the lawsuit. So it is normal to give them time to update themselves, update their internal practices and policies in preparation of a transition to the status quo ante.
Right.
So it's basically, you could hit the gavel and be like, right now, no. And then, the next day, a beat officer arrests somebody, right, for something that again,
actually
for
isn't a
years you've
crime
been
anymore, right?
yeah, it's actually not illegal anymore, but it hasn't gotten to this department, blah, blah, blah. That's kind of why they do that. The fact that they're extending it is annoying because in the digital era, there is no really need for it to take that long to say, hey, cops.
The reason it's extended is extremely interesting, though, because this case was GVR'd after an en banc panel had heard it. After Benitez is done with it, the en banc panel has the opportunity to say, you don't get a new 3-judge panel. We get it back. We get it back. Yeah. And so that panel was made up of anti-gun judges for the most part, because the pro-gun side was the one that appealed it to the Supreme Court, because after Benitez said mag ban bad, I believe that the original 3-judge panel said mag ban bad.
Yeah, and then the en banc
Ninth Circuit was like, hell no, that'll never stand. And so then they said mag ban am actually good.
Yeah.
Now there was 4 dissents from the decision that the en banc panel has made, where they're like, we get to hear this again, actually, which is it's in the dissents they at least make it seem that this sort of thing is extremely legally questionable, where they should, if they went and GVR'd it and then heard a bunch of new information, it shouldn't go straight back to the en banc panel. Now, maybe the en banc panel's being just trying to be judicially efficient because they realize it's going to get appealed regardless, and they will end up having it regardless, and it'll end up going to the Supreme Court regardless. But the same panel's going to get it. This panel's probably going to rule the way they did before, just like looking at the fact that seeing as though the panel's like, oh no, we get it, and it's the panel that already voted this way before. I can't imagine they're willing to apply Bruin, but Benitez has made it really hard for them to avoid applying Bruin. And it seems the 4 judges that dissented, one of them was really
also, why would the Supreme Court have GVR'd it?
Right. There was
GVR, by the way, guys, means grant, vacate, and review. That's when the Supreme Court, because to get the Supreme Court to hear your case, you have to petition for a writ of certiorari. And that's basically because it's discretionary. The Supreme Court doesn't have to hear your case in most instances. So a GVR is the court saying, we grant your writ of certiorari, we vacate the lower court decision, and return it to the lower court to do it correctly this time.
Yeah, it's like in light of new information, do this again. They're
like, do it again. And what a GVR means is you got it wrong.
Generally speaking, it's either something was wrong or something new has happened that should inform or re-inform your analysis.
Right. They usually don't grant GVRs though when
they think it's right.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
even like down to the result, because there can be like harmless error in how something was calculated, and the later Supreme Court precedent is what's binding, even if like the reasoning was inconsistent. So it will be intense dishonesty if they send this back again, is what I'm saying.
Right. Now, one of the judges who dissented from the en banc panel's decision, just to give it back to themselves, he had some very choice words to say about, like, it essentially amounted to him accusing the Ninth Circuit of being corrupt when it comes to gun or Second Amendment cases. And it was I've never seen a judge, especially not in an en banc sort of situation, say such. I mean, it's the most washed down legalese way to say fuck you.
So, as a lot of you guys know, California, they lost the mag ban case, which was hilarious. And so in response to that, would a mature, fully formed legislature, like, what would a mature, fully formed state do? Perhaps move on and attempt to target the actual issues that that plague the state.
Do some sort of analysis where you realize the more that you do this thing where you pass laws that won't pass constitutional muster, the more likely you are to have this end very poorly for you.
Yeah, no, but or there's the other path, which is to sign 23 anti-gun laws, including literally a Bruin response law
and an excise tax.
So yeah, obviously they went with that funnier option, where, as we can see here from From the horse's mouth, Governor Newsom, his office strengthens California's nation-leading gun safety laws. What you need to know. Governor Newsom signed new gun safety measures into law, strengthening the state's public carry regulations, requiring microstamping on handgun cartridges to help trace guns used in crimes, keeping guns away from potentially dangerous individuals, enacting a first-in-the-nation effort to generate funds on the sale of bullets to improve school safety and gun violence intervention programs, and more. So let's go through these. We have SB 2, which is their brew and response bill. It makes most public places prohibited to carry, which we'll be talking about a little later, how one of the earliest ones, the Maryland one, went, along with private locations, unless approval is explicitly posted, which is what we call the vampire rule, which was just held unconstitutional.
Again. I
again.
think it's been held unconstitutional every single time.
Yes, the vampire rule has. Requires character and fitness references for a carry permit along with 16 hours of training, and increases the minimum age to apply for a carry permit from 18 to 21. SB 452, basically, SB 452 is a common sense gun safety measure. I mean, you guys know that there's been this microstamping thing where it's been like, all right, well, once it's available, it's going to be required. Okay. But 452 is basically says, all right, gun industry, come on, step it up. Microstamping on handguns 2028. It's going to happen. It's going to be real. So that's great.
This after California's had its requirement for these things been federally pooped on.
Yeah. I mean, there's yeah.
So they're now doing one logical removal from there where it's like, we're going to require this in the future. That's legal, right? We can do that.
Yeah. Assembly Bill 28, an 11% excise tax on firearms and ammunition in addition to the federal tax, which is interesting.
Not a lot of people know that there is already a federal tax on guns and ammo.
Yeah, the Pittman-Robertson Act, which actually, when I was in the traditional, three-letter gun rights communities, I would be threatened very heavily whenever I would make intelligent cases against the Pittman-Robertson Act.
Which is strange.
Oh, it's not actually when you look at where the money goes. But yes, for no reason, you pay a similar tax on every gun that is made and imported.
So we can save the
and the industry loves that. Yeah, to save the birds, and for some reason the industry loves that. It's
sporting purposes.
Yeah, the spreading progresses. So next up, Assembly Bill 455 authorizes the prosecution to request an order from the court to prohibit a defendant of a felony or misdemeanor domestic violence offense subject to pretrial diversion from owning or possessing a firearm because they are a danger to themselves or others until they successfully complete diversion or their firearms rights are restored.
So it's more red flag-ish stuff?
No, it's it's strengthening the Lautenberg Amendment to cover, because it's like Lautenberg amendments. If you're convicted of a domestic violence misdemeanor, you lose your gun rights, right? And so here they're saying, if you are in a pretrial diversion program, right? So like you're not getting convicted as long as you complete these certain things, right?
All right.
They're going to make sure that you already can't have a gun. Although in virtually all cases, the court will prohibit the person from having guns anyway. Right. So that's a law that does a lot. It moves. It's a big heavy lifter, that one. Assembly Bill 725 updates the definition of a firearm under state law to include ghost gun parts.
Right.
Yeah, that's fine.
As opposed to gun parts.
Yeah, no.
Very different. Very different.
Scary. Spooker. Assembly Bill 732 strengthens the process for removing firearms from people who are prohibited from owning them. So again, this is another one of those like, oh, it's double illegal and now it's got teeth or whatever.
Yep.
What this actually will be is just more police involvement looking for guns. Assembly Bill 92 makes it a misdemeanor for anyone who's prohibited from possessing a firearm to purchase or possess body armor.
That's good. That's a smart one.
Okay, yeah. Assembly Bill 1587 requires banks and credit card companies in California to track firearm sales by logging them under a newly developed merchant category code. Again, this merchant category stuff that we're constantly talking about. Assembly Bill 1089 prohibits distribution of digital firearm manufacturing code, which, what the fuck is that? Except by licensed manufacturers, and adds a requirement to be a licensed manufacturer in order to 3D print firearm-related parts.
I'm sure that's defined in a way that was totally thought out very clearly and coherently.
Well, let's see.
Holy fuck.
Yo, what is a firearm-related product?
This bill is so retarded.
So the bill is incredibly retarded. I think what the big thing it does is, previously there were ways that you could 3D print your own gun, or, you know, make your own gun, like, you know, when you get a serial number from the whatever. Now the bill says, because this existing law requires any person who manufactures more than 3 firearms in a year to be licensed by the state as a manufacturer. It prohibits anyone from using a 3D printer to manufacture a firearm unless they're a state licensed manufacturer. And it prohibits any person from using a CNC machine to manufacture a firearm unless they're a federally licensed manufacturer or importer. This bill instead requires anyone who uses a 3D printer or milling machine to manufacture a firearm to be a state licensed manufacturer. So it's just a really weird shift around.
Yeah.
Like, it basically just means state license is required every time you use these particular tools. And then it also adds a bunch of controls for the downstream distribution of firearm related product, which means any firearm ammunition, precursor part, firearm component, firearm manufacturing machine, and firearm accessory.
That's awfully broad, because it ends up including stuff that's on airsoft guns.
I don't know about that.
What's the difference between an airsoft gun accessory that's an optic and a real gun accessory that's an optic?
The price. But anyway, so yeah, that's all great. California is a totally normal state that has a totally normal and reasonable legislature. And do people? I don't know.
They've heard of all of the amendments, all 3 of them.
Yeah, the one,
the 3 that they favor.
The one that the amendments they like is the one that says you got to make the cake. You got to bake the cake amendment.
Yeah.
The minimum wage amendment.
The 10th Amendment, but only the part about the states having rights reserved for them, not the people.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we like the Constitution. The 10th Amendment's the only one.
Yeah, because we want to do stuff. So next up, let's talk about a much more rational government. Our federal government, right? It's the most important one, so they must behave a little bit better than Newsom does. Well, it's about dang time. President Jonathan Biden has established the first ever White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention to be overseen by Kamala Harris. What do you think about this?
This is a really important move, and isn't just Biden signaling that he would like to be reelected, but has acknowledging that he's failed to move the needle on gun control, and in fact may have actually hurt the gun control movement.
By pushing too hard. Yeah.
Well, yeah, by pushing too hard and in an idiotic direction, because frankly,
break the needle.
Using putting yourself in the seat of the gun controllers, using what Trump did with the bump stocks and having the ATF make a rule isn't an insane way to get gun control passed without having Congress on your side. It's kind of clever. The thing is, though, is they really should have waited for the dust to settle from, like, let a bump stock case all the way done before you try this, or else you're going to be doomed to fail.
Right.
Because if there's any chance a bump stock case goes the other way, you've put a lot of work into something that, like, you built a great big castle, cool, except that you built it on sand, which wasn't very smart because the sand will shift and then your castle's stinky.
Well, the thing is, when you take the same aggressive misstep at the same time, you eliminate the like bias observed from knocking it over.
Right.
Because if it was just Trump, they wouldn't want to be seen as, being anti-Trump or anti-Republican or whatever. Well, now it's like, okay, well, no, this is a problem on both sides of the mainstream political aisle, and it's a general problem with executive power, and so it needs to be reined in. I think that was a big misstep, and I do think that's the direction we'll see it go. But let's hear from John Biden himself. A statement from the president. Every time I've met with families impacted by gun violence, they mourn their loved ones. That's reasonable.
Wow, that's profound.
And I've met so many throughout the country. They all have the same message for their elected officials. Do something. It's why last year I signed the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act to keep guns out of dangerous hands and have taken more executive action than any president in history to keep communities safe. But as I've said before, while these are important steps, they are just the first steps toward what is needed. That's why I'm announcing additional steps forward with the first ever White House Office of Gun Violence Protection, TM, overseen by Vice President Harris, to build upon these measures and keep Americans safe. The office will include Stephanie Feldman, who has capably led my administration's gun violence prevention efforts and been a trusted aide for more than a decade. Alongside leading experts Greg Jasson and Rob Wilcox, whose own lives and families have been touched by the tragedy of gun violence. They have turned their pain into purpose and dedicated their careers to being advocates for change. That important work will continue as they join my team in these new roles.
It's so ridiculous. Just the entire concept. So, and I know it's something that the anti-gun movement has asked for a long time. And the way I had it sort of explained to me was the reason that the anti-gun side would want this, because it seems pretty much symbolic, but what it allows them to do is officially coordinate messaging so they can have the White House put out anti-gun talking points and make it look official without them having to back channel this. Because whenever you back channel us, there's this air of it's not being done the right way. Right. And then you can FOIA their communications and it all looks like, you said something mildly inconvenient to your own side and you seem awfully friendly with these people. But if this is its own public office, then they don't have that. They don't have that concern. They can be friendly with the anti-gunners and then under the guise of we're making America so safe.
Yeah, no, under the guise of this is part of our act. It's budgeted. This is a thing like specifically that we're working on. And that's what I was going to get at next, which is what has he said that he's going to do? And that's pretty much the only thing he says that he's going to do is urge Congress to take action.
Right.
Awesome. So anyway, I don't think that deserves much more. What does deserve more is VZGrips.
They
deserve your money. Grips. Yeah. Wait, what'd you say?
We deserve VZGrips and what the gun control office of gun control safety, what they should do is mandate VZGrips because they help you control your gun better safely.
Do. Especially the Krell full size and the Gen 2 G10 dagger. Those are items that do a big job. And let's see, rifle grips, still no AKs, VZGrips. So guys, what you're going to do is go to VZGrips.com. Be sure to use promotional code THISWEEK15. That's this week 15. You're going to get 15% off your whole order. They're a Florida company. They're good. So they respond well to firm language. And then in your chat, you will ask them, where is the Draco items? So, but yeah, the gun grips are good. I haven't shot them. I've shot them. I have them on some of my most uncontrollable guns, and they increased their damage over time 30%.
At least
30% damage improvement. So VZGrips.com, promotional code this week 15. Check them out. This next story is pretty good. So Commander Biden, the president's dog, apparently just keeps biting people.
It happens.
How many times this year do you think the president's dog has bitten somebody?
It was at least 6.
It's 11.
Good. That's good. Yeah.
This week marks the 11th dog bite. And it's interesting. This Newsweek story is written by a legal analyst. Look at this dog. Of course, he's got a cop dog, a Gremlin Shepherd. So this author is basically talking about, well, is he legally able to just bite people with impunity? And so he's talking about the FTCA and the question of whether or not the dog is acting in a federal capacity. And then triggering the FTCA, like it's pretty freaking hilarious because like all of the people the dog are biting are federal employees, so maybe the dog's actually one of our guys.
Whenever I become president, I'm gonna leave Claymore landmines around the White House, and if somebody gets blowed up, it's their own fault because they should have looked better.
That's good. But yeah, no, I just thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, so it's the article says the question of when it comes to Commander, Mayor Muriel Bowser could be his judge, jury, and executioner. Will Commander's alleged 11 bites warrant opening an investigation? Will Bowser deem Commander guilty of threatening public safety and sentence him to capital punishment? And if so, will that lead to a standoff between DC police and Commander's Secret Service detail? It's a constitutional crisis waiting to happen.
This is the nation's #1 dog law show.
Yeah, DC law does expressly authorize the mayor to humanely destroy a dog if the dog will be a threat to public safety if it is returned to the owner.
Excellent.
So this is a constitution. Oh boy. But
don't say that Supremacy Clause never did nothing.
This is next up, let's talk about Maryland's Bruin response law, and this is actually a case that I'm involved with. And I remember seeing this order come into the email inbox, and I had to it is a win, right? Here. Federal judge blocks many of Maryland's new gun-free zones. However, when the order came in, I was reading for like 45 minutes before I found like where he was actually saying, okay, you guys win, like a little bit.
Right.
Because the whole time he was like, well, I don't agree that this is the standard. I don't agree that this should be that, and that I'm denying this motion in most respects. But yeah, you can't ban people from carrying like in all privately owned property across the entire state. So yeah, it was that, and I believe, and then the anywhere, any place of public assembly where they were, he was like, okay, no, you can't do that. Even a Maryland district court judge was willing to say that you can't do that. And
I think he was an Obama appointee. I might be mixing that up with a different case that happened recently.
Yeah. The deprivations of a constitutional right unquestionably constitute irreparable injury. Thus, in the context of an alleged violation, the likelihood of irreparable harm necessarily depends on the likelihood of success on the merits. Accordingly, because plaintiffs have shown a likelihood of success on the merits as to their challenges of the firearm restrictions in private property, locations selling alcohol, and within 1,000 feet of public demonstrations, they have also established irreparable harm as to those claims only, because he disagrees about likelihood of success on the merits with everything else.
It's I think this was like the 4th or 5th vampire rule that got blown out, because New York's was initially, and then Hawaii's, and then,
well, I thought Hawaii was first. Or no, New York was first. You're right.
Yeah, New York was the first, but then it was like back and forth for a little bit. But I think the whole time the vampire rule, nobody was advocating the vampire rules, right? And there's Hawaii, and now maybe it's Maryland, maybe California is going to be the 4th, because it's just a very, very difficult. It's a legally questionable proposition, especially
not even legally questionable. It's just manic,
especially packing it into a Bruin response bill.
Yeah, that is so
like
funny.
You can't like the judges aren't oblivious to the timing of you doing this. Even if they're an anti-gun judge, they're not oblivious to the timing of you doing this.
Yep. So, guys, yeah, Maryland shall issue is really deserving of your support. Maryland is a really important arena, time and time again, for testing the edges of gun law. And the big thing about Maryland shall issue is they are all volunteer organization. They do not waste your money. So when you give money to MSI, you know it's going to go to actually fighting the most ridiculous laws. So the other place where you should give money. So this place actually first, MSI second is actually MAF Corporation. MAF Corp is the best place to deposit your money, and there is a big sale right now. Big sale. Set me L chime under 500. MP5K 8 something. Like, you guys just got to go check it out. All the hard work's done. It's good stuff. And importantly, if you use promotional code FRN, that's Foxtrot Romeo November, you're going to get a discount on the item.
That's a double discount.
That's 2 discounts, and it's unbelievable that they would allow that.
So you can have a Set Me L parts kit ready to drop into your nice printed receiver, and it's going to cost you less than it cost me. And I demilled my kit myself, and I pressed my barrel myself, and I drilled my barrel pin, my channel myself, and then I pinned my barrel myself. And you can get it cheaper than me doing all that myself, which is kind of bittering. But
yeah, it's because you don't have the power of forced labor.
That's true.
Anyway, guys, maf-arms.com, promotional code FRN. You should check it out. There's a lot of good stuff available on the internet website for sale. Next up, this was like such a stupid story. The YouTube shooter, right? This prank channel, which I hate prank channels so much. How do you feel about prank channels?
I feel like I wish that jury decisions in cases would mean that all relevantly similar cases are bound to the same outcome. That would be really cool if jury decisions were precedential, at least for this one application. That's how I feel. That's how I feel about YouTube pranksters.
Whoa! So yeah, I have. I don't think I've ever said that. I went to high school with Vitaly of the Vitaly DZTV, and I've always thought this was just the stupidest brain rot garbage.
Like there's there's different shades of it where there is like utter brain rot like this, where like you're just being a dick to people to get a reaction, like it's horrible. Yeah. And then like there's sometimes it's like at least mildly entertaining, where it's like you do a whole Mr. Beast thing, like where you take somebody's crappy car and then you give them a cool new car, and it's like, I just wanted to help you out, surprise, and you give somebody like a positive reaction. Whereas people who are just trying to like be dicks and get a rise out of people should be shot.
Right. Well, yeah, and sometimes are. And look at his little buddy here. And so you can find the video of what actually happened. So basically they went up to this guy who, when you look at the guy, the victim / also shooter, he looks exactly like the kind of person who would shoot you. Right? Like wearing baggy clothes, bearded.
And he's like a delivery driver and was like picking up an order for Uber Eats.
For Grubhub.
And in case you don't know, delivery drivers are one of the most dangerous jobs in America because they carry rather large amounts of cash, and they're usually on their own.
Right.
And so generally speaking, they're younger people who don't have like a ton to lose in life. So when it comes to a flight, usually they're just like, okay, take my money.
Right. So this prankster guy, the Classified Goons guy, he's like 6'5", right? He's a towering person, and then he's got this other guy, and they like cornered him. I mean, after watching the video, I don't think I would have shot, right? But what's your opinion on the shoot itself?
The shoot itself, like, I mean, like, is there such a thing as a good and or perfect shoot? Usually not. But when you get down to it, I could completely understand a coherent argument from the guy who shot that he felt that he was being threatened. Like especially in your mindset as if you're a delivery driver and you understand that you're more likely to be shot than a cop. Right. Your hair triggerness should at least be expected to be more hair triggery than a cop, which is a
right. Yeah, and he probably shot like a full hour after a cop would have. in this 1 minute encounter. He shot an hour after a cop.
These guys get their phones in his face, and they're like being really obnoxious. And the dude says,
they kind of corner him. Yeah.
The dude says stop, and he keeps trying to get away from him, and they keep chasing after him and putting their phone in his face. And he yells stop one more time, and they don't stop. And so he gets a little pocket rocket out of his pocket and
He tags him.
he fires one round, which is incredible restraint.
Yeah.
And the reason that I saw a lot of people saying like particularly it was a bad shoot is homie definitely didn't aim because the guy was that close to him. He just shoots.
Right.
And he hits him in the stomach or whatever. And then the reaction of the guy who got shot is holy F word. Ow. Which is just such an amazing reaction.
Yeah.
Ow.
Yeah. But the thing that sucks is so the jury found him not guilty, right?
He's been in jail since April when this happened. So that's very stupid.
Yeah. So understandably so. When they showed the video of the kid's mom like reacting to the acquittal, and he was trying to prank the news cameras. Like, this guy is the worst.
It would be so great. The news cameraman had the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever.
Yeah.
Just shoot him again in the courthouse. Like, okay, bye-bye. I've seen how this ends. I'm getting off.
So yeah, in the Ammo Land story, this was posted by Mr. John Crump, who interestingly linked his own tweet from the day it happened, where Mr. Crump shows his tendency to not wait and verify any information before saying it. What does the tweet that he linked say?
That there was a shooting at the mall. One shooter's down, the second one is still in the mall, and the cops are following a trail of blood.
Yeah, and is that among things that happened?
No, I remember whenever this initially happened, the public media reaction was there was a mass shooting at the mall, which is weird because there was one gunshot total, and the guy turned himself into the cops.
Mm-hmm. But
which at least if you ask,
I don't think that the cops were following a blood trail or whatever.
Right. There certainly wasn't a suspicion of a second shooter. That'd be really weird. But
yeah, but when you don't check and you just want to be the first to the headline, you wind up saying stupid shit.
The thing that rubs me the wrong way is, of course, the prosecution was arguing in this case that, there's no reasonable person would be scared about being cornered by two physically bigger people who are getting in your face and refusing to leave your face and are following you around after you've told them to stop. And as you walk away at an accelerated pace, and they continue to try and catch up to you.
Yeah, and they're playing an audio clip asking why, telling you to quit thinking about their twinkle, which is just like utterly bizarre and makes you think that these people are probably not mentally right.
Or like trying to that is a tactic that robbers use, where they say or do something that makes you go, huh? Because that second you're going, huh, makes it easier for them to like attack you or grab your wallet or what have you. Mm-hmm. But the prosecution alleged that there's no way a reasonable person could possibly be intimidated by this. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, the prosecutor's a woman. You're telling me if she was in that man's shoes, she wouldn't be worried? Mm-hmm. That's just bizarre to me. It was such a weird thing to see. And the fact that this guy had been kept in custody since April, despite the fact that it's not like he then got in his car and drove off, right? Which would indicate that maybe he realized he did something wrong. He turned himself into the police. He's like, okay, I shot a guy, so I wasn't here for my life. And I feel like in many more cases such as this, if not a relatively low bail, they just straight up shouldn't be in jail for instances like this. But it's awful. And then he's still being kept in jail because the jury confusingly convicted him of discharge of a negligent discharge of a firearm,
right?
Which is strange because he got self-defense for the the malicious wounding.
Yeah, no, juries can do.
I think the instructions probably should have said that if you get off on the self-defense for malicious wounding, it's not negligent discharge of a firearm.
Juries can literally do whatever they want.
So with any luck, the judge will right that ship because the state the state statute for negligent discharge of a firearm is like up to 5 years or something, which
Right.
is, I guess, makes sense for instances where it's like it could have killed someone. Not that this one couldn't have, but like
Right.
where it's actual negligence or whatever. But
yeah, it's ridiculous. But I'm sure given that he won't be in there much longer.
With any luck.
Especially, hopefully his lawyers will file, a motion for judgment of acquittal, whatever. Because, especially if self-defense was the theory,
right.
It's hard to, right? Because like an element of self-defense is reasonableness, which obviates negligence. Anyway, let's move on here. So it's always nice when we can see that the federal, congressional, and senatorial lizards can join hands in fighting back at overreach when it comes to gun rights. Right? I mean, can you agree with that?
Yeah, that's great when that thing that doesn't happen does.
Well, it does happen, just in the most intensely milquetoast and horribly stupid, useless ways ever, because we have to protect school hunting safety classes and archery and things. So yeah, they got together. It's the I don't remember what stupid bill this is. Oh yeah, the Protecting Hunting Heritage and Education Act, which is like expressly designed to fix the result of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Acts that defunded effectively hunter safety classes.
I hadn't heard about this one. It's interesting. I think I just saw there on the.
Oh, you didn't?
Pain.
We talked about this a couple weeks ago.
I know that it was like being proposed, but I figured this was just like a chest beating thing. But if it passed the House with an overwhelming majority, like a 424-1 for the audio listeners, that means that like almost all of the Democrats voted for it. So it's kind of a interesting thing to see.
Yep. Only one no vote by Representative Escobar from Texas. But I mean, of course they all passed it because it was framed as it's a public education funding thing.
Right. And I imagine it makes it, this is maybe even an unforced error by the Republicans where it doesn't help you because you're the jagaloons who were the reason it was a problem in the first place. But it doesn't hurt the Democrats to do this because they can be like, see, we're not anti-gun. Remember that time hunting?
You know what you really need for hunting?
50 cal.
Yeah, and a free mini solar generator. It's national prepared.
Hunting substations. Come here, little electrons. You won't hide from me.
Well, listen, if somebody's out having a little hunt in your grid, you get the storm resistant solar power. You need the generator 2000X from Patriot for Patriots food company survival power generation outlet. Like when it comes to backup power, choose wisely. Go to 4patriots.com, use promotional code FRN. You're going to get 10% off, and you need to buy the seed vault. Invest in the seeds. It's seed time, boys. And solar fire Starfire camp stove. What's that? Neat. It's only $60. Buy it for me. Send me a picture. 4patriots.com, code FRN, Foxtrot Romeo November. Very breaking news. Very breaking news. It's not breaking news. You guys all know this happened, but there was a shortage, a very big shortage of the specific type of northeastern spider that they use to animate congressional lizards.
That's true.
And most of the staffers and senatorial lizards, of course, most politicians have enough spiders in reserve to continue the illusion of life for 2 to 3 years at any given time. So the shortages don't really affect them. It's a very inelastic market. But in an incredibly surprising turn of events, the federal handlers of Dianne Feinstein, who died sometime in 1987, were affected by this shortage and were not able to change out the spiders within the body. And so Feinstein lost animation this week.
I have an inside source that tells me that the reason their spider reserves were so low was the good senator from California had actually did some insider trading with these spiders, trying to short the spider market, and it turns out the recession hit.
Oh wow! I didn't expect this.
She wasn't death. She wasn't death.
God. You always got to double check your spider reserve. Always got to make sure you got spider reserves. I will say people are, might be like, oh, you shouldn't be making fun of somebody who died. She died in 1987. I don't want to hear it.
She would not care once if you died, and in fact would send people to your house to do it for her. This was one of her major policy positions. You should look it up.
Let's talk about Donald Trump's Glock.
Oh my gosh, this story is so good. This story is so good.
Where he went to the Palmetto State Arsenal.
Yeah, he went to the Palm State Armories. And he was touring there as like a tour of South Carolina to look at all their business and industry. And cool, he went to PSA.
Right.
But there was so much in his visit there that epitomizes the problem with the Republican platform in general as it comes to guns. Mm-hmm. So he goes in there, he walks around, he has a good time. The owner of PSA does a fantastic job. Like I don't want anyone to take any of what I'm saying as a negative comment about PSA. I think they're great for multiple reasons and they should sponsor the show. But
yeah, give us $1.
But they had Donald Trump there, and they were going around and talking about what PSA does. They make a lot of stuff in-house. It's about 50-50 in-house sales versus dealer sales, all well and good. And they're walking past the display cases. Confusingly, Trump asks the owner of PSA what the best gun is, like the best quality, and the owner of PSA says H&K. Like I was expecting this is a layup. What? It's PSA, and he says it's HK, and I'm like, huh? And then he's like a German gun. Huh?
And also,
I'm like,
that one?
Yeah, I don't. Okay, good. That's cool.
That's your opinion, dude.
But they get to talking about the pistol brace ban and how it's affecting a lot of people, and you really should. It should be your top priority to reverse. It's hurting a lot of people. It's an affront to the Second Amendment. And Trump's like, "Oh, I'll take care of it. First day in office, I'll take care of it. No problem. I'll take care of it." When I was in, we didn't do anything like that. And it's like a record scratch where it's like, "Hey, bozo, your administration paved the way for this to happen.
Right.
You're the guys who figured out the mechanism to make this thing work in the first place. So don't say you didn't do anything like that, because you did." But you can tell that the owner of PSA knows this, just like his facial expressions, like, anyway. But he sticks to it, and he's like, yeah, the pistol brace thing is very bad. And then Trump asks what a pistol brace is, and this may be politicking, but then part of me is I'll explain later why I end up realizing it's probably not politicking. He's so insulated in many Republican quote unquote pro gun, because Trump isn't even quote unquote pro gun. He's decidedly mixed is where I'd put him.
Right.
But like many of them don't even understand what a pistol brace is. So the chances that they're actually going to be able to effectively litigate on this is bad.
Right.
And so that they went on from the pistol brace to first time they talked about pistol braces to they walking down the display things, and then one of the PSA employees points out like, "Oh, look, we got a Donald Trump edition Glock in there. Like if you guys have seen any of those god awful like a laser engraved Glock, it's like the Trump 45 ACP Glock. Oh, it's so cool." And Trump wants to see it, and he's holding it, and he thinks it's the greatest thing ever because they put him on a gun. And then he drops this banger of a question: "Is Glock a good gun?" Oh, yeah, it's great. And so PSA guys are like, yeah, it's pretty good. Everybody likes them, cops and the dude that does the good, and it's really nice. And then Trump asks if anyone has ever done it like Glock, which is like a thing he does where he's like, nobody's ever done it like this because it's the best. And so he's asking one of his Trumpism questions. But then PSA is like, "Oh no, sir, no one's ever done it like Glock." And then I'm there like, a record scratch. If you ask me, PSA makes a more a better feeling in the hand, and I shoot them better than actual Glock clone. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So, you know, Trump gets a bunch of pictures taken with this gun, and one of the people in Trump's media posse takes a video of this happening, Trump holding the gun and getting pictures with the guys, and Trump drops this banger of a line. I want to buy a gun like this. I want to buy this gun. Mm-hmm. He's talking about how much he wants to buy it. Turns out Trump's under felony indictment for several cases.
Yeah.
And they've now introduced the video of him saying he wants to buy it in some of these cases as a, look, he's indicated his intention to break the law. We need a gag order to stop him from talking about this case whatsoever. So he's potentially hurt himself in some of these cases. But
I mean, it's just, it shows how absurd these things are.
Really ridiculous. But you know, they go on from the Trump Glock. Everybody gets pictures of Trump with the Trump Glock. It's well and good. They talk more about PSAs, you know, what it is they do. They say that evidently the Jackal's their best-selling rifle, but maybe they mean of their own design, because the ARs aren't exactly of their own design. But there's no way they're selling more Jackals than ARs.
No possible way.
Just don't believe that. And they get to talking about the PSA dagger, like they show this as the dagger, and then Trump asks this banger of a question. How does the dagger compare to a Glock? And PSA's owner is just like, well, you know, they're pretty different, and it's just different market sections of the market. And Trump asks about the difference in cost, and the Glock's $500-ish gun, and a dagger is like a $300-400 gun. And Trump's like, oh, okay, you know, so that's the difference. And I'm just sitting there like,
why did they do that?
I guess it's because they didn't want to contradict what they had said earlier, or maybe they're just like, in perhaps, like I'm not trying to, like, again, like I had said, I'm not trying to fault PSA for what they're saying. If you put yourself in the owner of PSA's shoes, his answers are really smart because he's playing a game. He realizes Trump isn't 100% our guy. Right. In fact, it's maybe at best 50% our guy. And so you've got to make a case for what really matters. And so he then hammers home. They do a bunch more pictures, and Trump starts talking about how, oh, I'm so great. Don't vote for Joe Biden. Vote for me. Energy independence. He does like his whole little campaign debates. You know, he doesn't do debates, but it's what he would say on a debate stage, which is kind of funny. And then he eventually gets back to talking to the owner of PSA, and it's just like a little small talk chit chat. And so the owner of PSA puts him on the spot and asks, "Can I count on you to fix the pistol brace situation?" And initially, you know, like Trump drops a quick answer that's like, "Oh, I'll fix everything. Everything Joe Biden's doing is terrible." And the owner of PSA asks it again, and then Trump's like, "Yes, I'll take care of it. It'll be like my top priority. We'll get it taken care of. No trouble." Now that said, unless the litigation that's currently in place hurries up, it's going to be really, really funny to see the ATF's, you know, the ATF Department of Justice in the middle of defending these laws. And the admin pull the plug, and then the anti-gun group sue them for passing a rule to revoke the rule.
Yeah, this has happened before, by the way.
You know, the trouble here is since the bell's been rung, they can't unpublish the rule now without a rule. And that rule is going to be subject to, you know, to the same sort of lawsuit that's going on here, where they're like, oh, the rule is a violation of the APA and it's improper. And
well, they can. No, there's some other little tricks they can pull.
Can they?
They can settle the lawsuits.
Right. Oh,
yeah.
Right. God, that'll be so interesting to see.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a very bojangly result, no matter how you slice it.
And then, of course, I saw a very interesting comment from our friend Costas Moros, the gun lawyer, who's
our favorite olive eater.
Yeah, our favorite olive eater gun lawyer guy from the great state of California. He said that because Trump said it, then there's a 5% chance he'll do it. And I was like, well, that's in perspective. But I tell that whole story in verbose detail to demonstrate that he's, you know, ostensibly the guy who's going to win the Republican primary. It seems all polls point to that's what's going to happen.
Right.
And he's going to be the guy who's got, like, as much damage as Biden can do with the ATF, Trump could do good with the ATF or other administrative action. And he won't. And it's not because he doesn't, but you know, potentially not because he doesn't want to. It's because he's not a gun guy. He doesn't understand.
No idea.
He doesn't know what a Glock is. Right. And he's enough of like a Hollywood sort of guy. He's at least heard of it before, right?
Well,
But,
and
like,
he is just so unfamiliar with gun law
and just
that he
the
thought he
whole
could
thing.
buy the Glock while being under felony indictment. Like,
It could have just been a Trumpism, but like again,
Right.
it was just like he's so unfamiliar with being the subject of legal scrutiny that he wouldn't know. Probably I shouldn't even hold this.
right.
But it's that all to demonstrate the vast majority. I mean, the vast majority of elected Republicans have this level of understanding of guns. Like at most, they will go and shoot one for a campaign ad once, and it's not their gun, and they have to be told like the shiny end of the shotgun shell. It goes in
Right.
second, like it's not the shiny end goes towards
Yeah.
the back. The plastic end goes in first. That's
Yeah.
like there is this level of understanding that these people have, and because of this,
It's because they're coastal elitists.
right, but because of this, the Republican Party is fundamentally crippled from a standpoint of being able to make progress on gun law, because there's like two people in Congress who are like actual gun people.
Mhm.
They have a hard time communicating to their peers. This is why you need to do it. Like Thomas Massey's one of them. Anytime that like House Judiciary is going back and forth on a gun control bill, all of the Republicans refer to Thomas Massey because
Yeah.
he's the only person who understands what he's doing. And the big failing here is if they don't understand guns, they can prevent the anti-gun groups and Democrats from pushing new stuff. They can do that pretty effectively. They can't effectively push for repealing bad laws or passing laws that are good or in our favor. They can't they can't do that because they don't really understand it. And it's a critical failing of the gun rights movement, if you ask me. And it's sort of the reason that we're stuck in this boat of the only way we get anything back is through the courts. And it shouldn't have to be that way, but unless things change, that's how it's going to be.
In a different area of grievous injustice that is very difficult to fight, I just want to plug real quick. Our friend 3D Print General has based most of his career off of YouTube, and for no reason, it appeared like there's no discernible reason. We have no idea. They deleted his whole channel. We don't know why. He has posted 3D gun related stuff, but it's been like informational, non-instructional, like historical even.
Right. And since he got a strike, he removed everything that was a gun from his main channel. So we've got a secondary channel where it's like the gun side of things, but it's not even like other. I'm not going to mention them just because of how awful everything's been, and I don't want to like bad juju somebody, but there's other 3D printed gun channels, not me, that are like give you more detail that YouTube wouldn't want you to than 3D Print General. So it's weird to see him be the target of this, as well as like it's his main channel where
and every channel that was like even tertiarily related to him, like his dad's like shop YouTube channel, because one time he did his dad a favor and put an ad on it. Like anyway, like what I want to ask you guys to do is, if you have the Twitter Bird app, just go to the 3D Print General and just retweet his pinned post, just
reply underneath it. And because it's the only way that YouTube fixes anything is people's belligerence and persistence, just reply to it and be like, yo, YouTube, what's up with this?
Yeah, exactly. So please do that. And also, if you like patches, please go to patriotpatch.co. Go to patriotpatch.co. They're a cool company. Look, this one I forgot to put on the mic this time, but it's cool. It's made of the good PVC. It's soft and chewable, submissive, and stickable. What's the current patch of the month club? I haven't gotten it in yet, and it is... Oh, that's fun. It's pirate themed. Wouldn't you love to just show up with this in your mailbox? It's a nice little thing. Every month you get a little endorphin rush of a funny little patch in your mail. And guess what? If you use promotional code TWIG10, TWIG10, that's This Week in Guns 10, you will get a 10% discount off of your order. So go there and purchase things from Patriot Patch Company. Longtime supporter of the show. Good people who also get deplatformed from everything, it seems. But yeah, so I think that's all for tonight, boys. Is there anything I missed?
I don't think there's anything big or notable otherwise. Not much movement and a lot of It seems a lot of court cases are waiting on. Oh fuck, we missed Duncan. Which might look like an abortive 1911 knockoff, but I promise you, it's really good. See, I'm using it in the World War III's against the Covenant.
Now, why would you not be using a Drake?
Well, because sometimes the Drake is big and it loud, and sometimes my ears,
So this one, it always subschronic.
And the problem with the rifle, it'll make a little hole and go right through. And sometimes you need a good gun, but sometimes a good gun like 1911, sometimes it'd be a little tricky to aim. So I came up with this aim assist rig right here.
That's I see you got the it still ain't got sights because the 1911, the original when they used it, they said the sights is a waste of time. Don't use it. You just point.
Inside of the 1.5 yards. You don't even need just it's a point shoot. You point your hands at them and you shoot.
But with that, you got aiming, forward grip, and the A2 got clicks on it, so that makes sense.
And make it real accurate. When we talking about the A2, and the problem was when the Eugene Stoner, he designed an A1, and when you go to click, there ain't no click. You take an A1, no click. You can't no click it because they know Eugene Stoner. He know when the soldiers in the field, in the rice, in the flood.
Yeah, when you shoot them good.
They don't want them to go clicking. They go clicking. How they gonna shoot?
No.
And all go. And you fast forward, and then you go and look. You go and look at the war terror, and then what they do. What the troops there they say that with the M6A2, they went and shoot them, but they said 5.56 shots shot right at them, and they didn't even stop. And it's because they got the sight and the sight click, and they've been clicking the sight.
They sit there clicking the site and they ain't know.
They didn't know.
Well, that's all true. So
look it up.
That's funny. All right. Well, everybody, thank you all so much for coming. As always, we will see you next time.
Bye. See ya. Bye.
Bye. For now, auf Wiedersehen. Sayonara.